Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Moxie Coaching Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I'll be your host as we explore what coaching is and how it can help you create your best life. If you're anything like me, it's important to you to give back in some way. Maybe it's volunteering in the soup kitchen. Maybe it's donating $1 million to environmental research. It doesn't really matter. I started coaching and podcasting because I'm just one person who can only do so much alone. And I realized that through coaching and through podcasting, I could help and support those of you who want to do good works and exponentially increase the amount of good that I'm able to do. So if this sounds like you, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Be well. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moxie Coaching Podcast. I'm super glad that you're here with me today because we're going to talk about a few more questions that listeners have about the tarot. Before we get started though, just I think one announcement, which is just to remember to sign up on the website if you're interested in being in the monthly drawing for a free reading. We've had our first winner and I have emailed her and looking forward to hearing back from her so I can hook her up with a free reading. I do have one more announcement. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast or not, but I have started a YouTube channel that is designed to help people learn how to self-coach with the tarot, as well as learn to read the tarot for themselves. The channel breaks down the cards into individual videos. Some of the content is similar, some of it is different. But all of it has images, which is really the reason that I wanted to try it that way, because it's so much easier to teach the tarot when you can see what you're looking at. All right. The first question is actually something that I run across a little bit more in having conversations with clients and trying to help them explain or understand what a tarot reading is, what its limitations are, what its strong suits are, and that type of thing. So the question is, what's the difference in a psychic reading and a tarot reading? Well, the primary difference, now there are a few differences actually, but the first and foremost difference is that in a psychic reading, the person doing the reading will always claim to be psychic. And when you are getting a tarot reading, you may or may not have your tarot reader claiming to be psychic. So in a traditional psychic reading, the reader is pulling information, pulling energy out of the ethers, so to speak, and translating that into information that they can share with you. They don't need the tool, so to speak, of the tarot or the tool of astrology or the tool of, whatever, runes. They're able to tap into the psychic realm without having to have the support of those things. And for the most part, people who go to psychics are going to psychics because they want an answer to something that they either can't figure out themselves or it's too far off and they just need to know. Very often people will go to psychics for, definitive questions. Am I going to get this job? What do I have to do to get this job? Am I going to blank, blank, blank? Does so and so find me attractive? They're very core, in some ways, really simple questions. And the tarot, and I'm simplifying what psychics do, right? I am simplifying it greatly because a lot of psychics are wonderful people and they will work with someone and ask a million questions so they can really dig into the question and provide their customer a lot of value. So I'm not at all um, degrading psychics, not at all. However, it is different from a tarot reading. A tarot reading is a reading clearly that is using the cards as the first wave of contact with the spirit realm. Okay? And the cards, when we're meditating on a card reading, and we're shuffling the cards and we're meditating on the reading, we are imbuing those cards with your energy, with our energy, and the positive energy that we need to be able to respond to whatever it is that you're asking of us as a tarot reader. The cards are drawn, chosen, placed in the spread, and then the tarot reader reads the cards. Well, you could have a tarot reader who is extremely didactic, someone who has chosen the Rider-Smith Waite deck as their Bible, and that is how they are going to be interpreting the tarot. They don't have any interest in including intuitive information or intuitive downloads, or they don't realize that they have that ability yet, and so they're just sticking to the book. So you can have that, that by the book type of tarot reader. And you can have a tarot reader who is what I consider the best of both worlds, someone who is intuitive and someone who has the core knowledge, the foundational knowledge of the tarot, so they can combine the two of those things along with whatever's coming in, from an energetic perspective, because of the energy that we're putting into the cards. So I guess maybe the simple way to say it is some tarot readers are psychic. All psychics are psychic. Some psychics read tarot. And some tarot readers just read tarot. So there really is, and part of this is to clarify, right? So when you are looking for some assistance, when you're going to someone and you have a question, if you're looking for a really clear, definitive yes or no answer, a tarot reading probably is not the best option for you. The tarot, while it doesn't give us these ultra clear-cut answers, and we've talked about that in other podcasts because of free will and all of those other things. But because it doesn't give us that clear yes or no answer, it, in one way, I suppose you could say, forces us, but also gives us the gift of a lot more nuance, a lot more opportunity to look at what might be causing the situation that you're asking about, or where you can find some insight into maybe what's blocking you in getting what you want and what you might be asking that psychic for. So, so they really are, in some ways, designed to provide similar services. However, the psychic reading is much more, I want to say, esoteric, much more, it's much harder to nail down because there's no tool. There's nothing that we can use. There's nothing that we can compare it to. The only thing that we have to go by when we're getting a psychic reading is what the psychic is telling us. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've gone to many psychics and I've had great experiences, um, like I said, I'm not getting that nuance. I'm not getting the the story and the narrative that comes through with the tarot cards. So that is the difference. I hope that that makes sense. Um, Clearly, I am a tarot aficionado, and I am working and have worked over the past number of years to really expand my intuitive gifts. So, my goal is to be the psychic who does the tarot readings, right? The intuitive who does the tarot readings. Because I want to be able to help people, and I want to be able to help them at a little bit deeper level, at a more relational level than can be developed in just one-off psychic readings. The tarot is also much more conducive to coaching, depending on the situation. Um, the tarot is better at helping us see what we need to see. The tarot is great at triggering our emotions, at triggering memories, all of those types of things that make the tarot reading, like I said, more of a relational thing. And that's always my goal, is to, I mean, clearly if I can help someone in one session, that's the best case scenario. But there are times when it takes more than one session for someone to work through what it is they're working through. And that's the gift of the tarot, like I said, or the gift of the coaching plus the tarot. Okay. Next question is, why do readers and decks sometimes have different interpretations of the tarot? And that, in a sense, goes back to the whole psychic thing, right? The tarot is, on one hand, it's almost like a science or a process, right? There's a recipe of how we use the tarot to tap into what it is we want to tap into. People like me who like to have that foundational knowledge are the ones often that are saying, hey, wait a second, why is it that this interpretation is different from that interpretation and this one's different from that one? Well, that is because we are human and because we are all working to develop our own unique relationship with the cards, our own individual meanings of the cards is not unusual at all. And those readers who are tapping into their intuition, those readers who are tapping into any psychic ability that they may have or in the process of developing that, are going to be picking up on things above and beyond what they're seeing in the tarot card itself. That tarot card is likely simply a catalyst or a starting point for useful information to begin kind of flowing in. And so, you know, I could sit down with someone who just had a reading with someone else, and in some, you know, we could pick exactly the same cards, and our interpretations are likely to be at least a little bit different. The longer we work with the cards, the more of a personal relationship we develop with them, And the more we're able to, number one, look at broad possibility of interpretation as opposed to sticking very closely with the book. The more you do the tarot, the more you do readings, the more you work with it, you'll start to see that you just kind of work with certain cards in a certain way. And the cool thing is, it usually resonates. So just because I pulled the same cards as someone else and I gave you kind of a different reading, it doesn't mean that my reading is wrong or the other person's reading is wrong. It means that we were able to pull different content, different information, different energy out of the cards because of who we are as card readers. So when you have someone who develops their own deck, you will find in a lot of decks that you purchase, there's a book that goes along with the deck that provides the artist's interpretation of their card. And then it's going to be up to you to decide, do I want to use this deck based on the artist's interpretations of the card, or do I want to use this deck based on my memory of the Rider-Smith-Waite deck and just correlate the cards? So that's a good reason. It's a good reason to take the time to learn the traditional meanings of the cards, because at that point, when you have the traditional meanings down and you can visualize the cards, you can visualize what a Three of Cups looks like. You can visualize what the Empress looks like. You can then take that knowledge and use it to broaden your horizon in terms of the number of decks that you can use. But just be aware that, yeah, it could be different. And you just need to decide before you start to work with that deck how you want to work with it. It's just a simple decision of, okay, this is the deck that I work with the most is called the Crow Tarot by M.J. Cullinane. And I choose this deck almost always because I swear that it talks to me sometimes. It really, really resonates. I find it easy to read. I find that it just works for me. I don't necessarily find it the most aesthetically pleasing deck. There are others that I like a whole lot more, but this one is the one that just I have developed a relationship with for whatever reason, and this is the one that is the easiest for me to read. So you will, as you go through your tarot journey and purchase decks, because you're going to, because we can't help it. As a tarot reader, there's like no better Christmas present, right? But you are going to probably want to choose a deck that is different. So just remember that. Just remember that we all approach the tarot with our own background. We all approach the tarot with our own energetic imprint. We approach it with our own personal relationship. And so readings are going to be different. Decks are going to be a little bit different, but it doesn't make anything any less valuable. It just provides another perspective. All right. This is a good one, and I get this a lot. Not so much the specific question of can tarot cards predict time, but people who want me to do a reading and they want me to tell them when something, well, first they want me to tell them if something is going to happen, then they want me to tell them when. And I dread those readings. Honest to goodness, I do, because we have to have the conversation about yes or no. Yes or no questions are very difficult to answer, and that whole free will thing. in terms of, is something going to happen? But in terms of when is something going to happen, that is something that I really avoid as much as I can, okay? Because I don't want someone making some sort of definitive plan or making a decision based on what the tarot cards say. Now, and I know that sounds funny coming from a tarot reader, but I think you know me well enough to know by now that I read the tarot from a different perspective, that I read the tarot from the perspective of using it as a tool to tap into ourselves, others, our blocks, energy, all of those things. I do not use the tarot under normal circumstances to tell someone when they're going to meet their soulmate. Okay. Now, I could play around with it. I could make an effort. I could draw a card and then choose based on my intuition and what that card is telling me, kind of sort of when I think something is going to happen. I personally don't think that is the best approach. Now, there is another way of looking at it, and there's a book called The Holistic Tarot by Benebell Wen. And the Holistic Tarot it's an ungodly amount of information. I don't know how this woman, who I believe is also an attorney, she must not ever sleep. She has put together a Bible, and it has so much information. And that is one of the few places that I've seen that will make an effort to sort of prescribe a time frame to a particular card or a particular set of cards, that type of thing. But in general, I would say that the tarot cards are not the best tool for predicting time. And that if you want someone who's going to be able to tell you when something is going to happen, again, I would reach out to a psychic that you know and that you trust, right? My coach is intuitive. And I don't think she ever calls herself psychic, but she's amazing. And I would feel comfortable asking her when something might happen or when something might not happen. And even she would probably say, well, it looks pretty good up until this date, or it looks good after this date. She's not likely to give me a clearly defined date of when something is going to happen. The world, it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. If I had my way, the tarot would be a science, and it would be very clearly defined, and everything would be replicable, and everyone could, achieve the same wonderful results if they followed the rules. But that's not how the tarot is. And so we've just got to learn to be open, learn to accept it for what it is, and use it for its strengths, and not ask it to do something that it really isn't very good at doing. Okay, do distance tarot readings really work? Yes, they do. I have done 99% of my tarot readings distant. And I have done them from my office for people who live in Finland, for people who live in Ghana, for people who live in India, for people who live in Australia. I've done readings for people literally all over the world. And we have no problem whatsoever getting that connection. And I'm working on finding someone, and I'm having a really hard time, who can come on as a guest and explain the physics behind why distance tarot readings work, why psychics can do things, why tarot readings in themselves work. but I haven't been able to find someone. So all I can really tell you is yes, they absolutely work. It does take a certain level of, taking some time to connect with the energy of the person for whom I'm reading. Sometimes I'll email back and forth a couple times just to make sure that I'm understanding everything. I do ask for birth dates as well because that gives me a little bit more information to work with, and I can find out someone's birth card before I do the reading, which is just a nice little contextual thing. So yeah, there's no problem whatsoever. If I was forced to try to articulate why the distance tarot readings work, I would say that everything in the universe is energy. We live in an illusion of sorts, and we create this energetic illusion that we live in. Energy travels very easily. It doesn't know the bounds of space or time. So when I want to tap into someone who lives in India from an energetic perspective, there's really nothing there in my way other than myself. So that's the best explanation I can give you. But yes, they absolutely do work. And I have received some amazingly touching emails from people from halfway across the world, right? It's just not a thing. Okay? And then the last one that I wanted to talk about today is, what are the ethics of tarot, of doing a tarot reading for someone? And I wanted to bring this up because I have been getting a lot of reading requests lately that are asking me to, without permission, tap into someone's energy. I'm getting reading requests from people who want to know what so-and-so is thinking, or what so-and-so is feeling about them, or how so-and-so is likely to move forward on this, that, or the other thing. My rule is that I absolutely will not read to spy on someone. I will not read to invade someone's personal or energetic space, right? We just talked about how, everything is energy, and it really just takes the ability to tap into it. And so I just don't think that it's appropriate for me or any other tarot reader to be trying to explain to someone why they were broken up with when the person who broke up with them isn't comfortable sharing it. And that's an extreme example, but there are things like that, and people just, we're human. We want to know, why did this person hurt me? Why did this person do that? What are they thinking? I totally get that. You're not alone. I would love to know, what so-and-so is thinking, or if so-and-so is going to do this or that. But I'm just not comfortable going there. And in my opinion, any ethical tarot reader is going to tell you the same thing, okay? Another ethical bump in the road is for the tarot readers who claim that they can tell the future, right? Who claim that they can tell you when something's going to happen, and claim that they can do so with a lot of accuracy. Now, I'm not saying that people are not capable of that, but I am saying that when we are reading the tarot, when we are looking for someone to read the tarot for us, it really is important that you do your homework, and that you choose someone who resonates with you in a way that that's just comfortable, right? Um, you don't want to have a tarot reading done by someone that you wouldn't want to have a cup of coffee with, right? So, so yeah, keep those things in mind. Another sticky wicket is not being honest with your clients. And I say that not because I think that people are intentionally dishonest most of the time, but I do know that a lot of people have a difficult time delivering less than desirable news. So when we do a tarot reading, we see what is there, right? It's excuse me, at a certain point it becomes black and white. Boom, 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 these 4 cards in a row, this means this blends in with that, blah, 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 blah. And when we look at a reading and we see something that we either know or suspect that our client is not going to want to hear, we really have to have, a discussion and decide, because if someone is paying you for a reading, they deserve the truth. Even if it's not the truth that they want to hear, they're paying you to hear the truth. So, if you're in a reading where you're seeing something really challenging, you can ask the person, okay, I'm seeing something pretty challenging here. Would you like me to share it with you? They can choose to say yes or no. Maybe they want to just kind of remain in the dark about it. That's completely up to them. If you're not comfortable just speaking it, ask them. You may also want to think about asking them while you're preparing to do the reading, right? Ask people how blunt they want you to be, because we do have a tendency to tippy-toe around sometimes and put things in the best light, because we want our clients to be positive and we want them to be happy and we want them to we want their lives to be good, right? So it really stinks to have to tell someone that, no, I'm sorry, it really, there's something here that's blocking you and you're going to have to work on it, that it's not going to get better on its own, those types of things, or whatever it is. So a good tarot reader, an ethical tarot reader, is going to tell you what they're capable of, what they're not capable of. They'll explain how they do the reading. They'll explain how they, sort of their level of intuition or psychic development. They're unlikely to tell you something's going to happen at a very specific time. And they're likely to steer you away from a yes or no reading. Okay? So those are some of the questions that either people have asked me or that I have had come up repeatedly in the readings that I do. So I hope that this provides a little bit of insight for you, insight into things that you might not have thought about or just haven't even gotten to yet as yourself, because you are in the process of learning. But if you're going to learn, you should learn the right way and you should learn the ethical way. So thank you for listening. I'm super glad that you did. So glad to have you here. You all be well until next time. Bye-bye.